With us here, 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Atlantic, early evening in Europe. We got Justin Chang. Welcome.
Hi, Paul. Nice to meet you.
You too. Nice to meet you on the internet. Yeah, so Justin is here to talk to us about telecom, in particular building a telecommunications design system with QGIS and PostGIS.
Yes.
Let me hand it over to you. Fire up
Thank you.
your screen share and here we go.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see the screen? Okay, gotcha. Hi, my name is Justin. I am a GIS analyst for a company called Mobia Technology Innovations. Today I'm going to talk about building a telecommunication design system with QGIS and PostGIS. So a little bit about myself. I'm a GIS analyst based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. So I have background in applied linguistics and economics, and I studied GIS at NSAC COG, Center of Geographic Sciences. I'm currently a GIS team lead for my company, and I'm also the prime on the MEDS project, which I'll talk about today. And I'm also originally from Seoul, South Korea. So any Koreans or Canadians out there, hi. So about Mobia, we're a Canadian company. We have about 37 years of experience, and we have about 700 employees across North America. And we're headquarters in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And if you're wondering where Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, or Halifax, we're right here at the end of Canada, eastern end of Canada. And we are a business and technology integrator. We help clients to, go to the digital transformation and also kind of give them enterprise solutions as well. And we do have like healthcare solutions that we recently delved into. And we have about 100 vendor partners. So if you're interested in learning about Mobia, you can go to mobia.io and we can learn more about my company. So in terms of GIS at Mobia, what we do at Mobia, it's a bit of this and that. I think that's kind of like the story of any GIS analyst, like it's GIS analyst, but you're also kind of a database administrator a little bit and a spatial data analyst as well. So for me, I kind of work a lot with QGIS and PostGIS. And so I kind of do all three at the moment. So that's kind of a story of my GIS life at the moment. And also, long story short, my story is about how I was given a kind of an Excel sheet, a piece of paper, and kind of made everything happen to what you see on the far right, an actual work plan that designers are using to design plans within an area. And I used QGIS and PostGIS to make it happen. So from 0 to a lot, right? So this pretty much a story that I want to kind of share with you guys. So the METS is actually an acronym for Mobia Engineering Design System. And we had 3 challenges from the get-go. So I just wanted to have a shout out to all the kind of coworkers that I work with and how it made it happen, like especially Charlotte Gallant and Rami and Rosalind Graham as well. So made me actually make this project happen. So we had a problem with location constraint and data management. And one of the challenges for location is that I'm based in Halifax, and I have designers based in Windsor, Ontario, and a project manager in Moncton, and our client is in Manitoba in the very beginning. So it's all over the place. And we actually had to have a solution that kind of address that. And one of the constraints that we had was that most of our designers were CAD designers, minimal GIS experience. Some had experience using network engineer, which is a kind of like it's ArcMap with telecom kind of features in it. So there's that gap in terms of having those designers use this tool or QGIS. And then that means that we needed a lot of documentation training And there's a limited budget, but also we wanted to make it scalable. So that was kind of like our issue, and kind of like that guy in this picture. I was kind of like, well, what should we do, and what can we do with this issue? And we also wanted to kind of manage the data. This is where PostGIS kind of really shined, was like we wanted to store the geospatial data in a central place, and we wanted multi-user access, which is kind of like telltale sign of wanting a enterprise GIS kind of setup. And we want to implement customized templates and styles and all that jazz in terms of the front end of things. And we needed different permission for different users. There are designers, but there are also managers and also people who load data like myself. So our solution was creating something using QGIS and PostGIS and open source technology. And the back end of things, the database is PostGIS, but like in the front end of things, like the client was QGIS. We're drawing everything using QGIS, but we're storing everything in PostGIS. Excuse me. And we also did, like, we had to make symbols, and all the symbols were made with Inkscape, which is also an open source program. So that was kind of cool about this project. And before I delve into more details about MEDS project, you have to kind of think about the three processes that kind of makes everything together. So the first thing is we had to go out in the field to collect the data. Then we wanted to put that in a database, and then we want to use a tool to kind of visualize it. So data management was PostGIS's job, and QGIS was like the data visualization analysis. So at Mobia, we were using a product called Ike, and we're collecting a lot of pole data, attachment heights, anchor location, span measurements, and clearance heights as well. So all that information was collected. And then we kind of put it in a database, PostGIS, and kind of and use QGIS to kind of draw using those data. So meaning the field data was poles and basically like dwellings. And then on top of that, we were drawing cables on top of it, basically. So the benefit of using PostGIS is that you have everything centralized. We share styles, and I placed QGIS here, but it's actually PostGIS that kind of make it possible to kind of push it out and kind of store it, store the styles, kind of share everything, and have a multi-user environment, as well as kind of have the permissions, as I mentioned earlier. So all this was possible due to PostGIS out of the box. So in terms of having all that data and having stored everything in PostGIS, we started looking into kind of how we would actually apply this MEDS kind of idea. So you have to kind of understand how the telecom, when we're designing, we have to kind of think about, in our case, the fiber to the home architecture, where we're kind of designing, showing how the fiber network would actually go to your home, basically, in an area. And we have the central office, we have the central splitting point and the network point, network access point, sorry, and the drops and the dwellings as well. So our focus was the distribution plans. So we wanted to draw cables, and cables should have different options, different sizes, different everything, all that cool stuff. So it has to be drop downs and multiple kind of, columns to fill, and that would kind of make different symbology and whatnot in the design. Right. And a cable would look like this. This is an aerial cable, which means that in the cable, there's aerial and buried. So this one is actually above the ground. So it's, in our case, red. And we just drew it. And then when they kind of populated in the attribute fields, an ID, then it gives you an ID, in this case, A. And we also wanted to draw terminals, which looks like this in real life. It's the end of each, it's like it connects the customers to the network, basically. So you would have a box like this, but it would be drawn as a T in our case. The red T symbolizes the new terminals, the black being the existing terminals. excuse me. So we're placing terminals. That's one part of the story, but like for QGIS, we had all this advanced labeling. So it enabled us to kind of have all this different labels depending on what you choose and what you put in there. And as we progressed, we kind of made it automated using some of the wonderful QGIS expressions. And some of the more I kind of develop things, I try to look into better ways to do it using the PostGIS, SQL and PostGIS in the backend of things, so that it is more robust and much more quicker. So we're kind of in the midst of transitioning from everything in the front of things using QGIS to kind of see if there's anything that we could do in the backend of things and kind of make things faster and much more reliable. And then we placed pets. Pets are things that you would sometimes see, and I see this a lot in my hometown. I mean, my area where I live. These are kind of connection points for underground cables, and we place them as a box with an X in it. And we can make various symbols with it with QGIS. And these are kind of like the plans that we go for and we present to our clients. So these are the PDF formats of those plans that we drew. And we manage all this data using like a tool called PGAdmin. And also if you're using QGIS, we just use DB Manager to do actually manipulate and manage some of the data. It's pretty cool. So in like kind of nutshell of things, like we use a lot of the attribute form, the functions that come with QGIS. So at the moment, we're using the 3.22 version of QGIS. And also we use a lot of the symbology and labels. And one of the cool things about QGIS is that you can use the processing toolbox and use tools like hub lines and plugins that are kind of, pretty cool, like quick map services, like long tools, and the mask tool that kind of helps the designer to mask things. And we can also incorporate WFS and WMS and the rest layers into QGIS really easily. And as for PostGIS, which kind of is the workhorse behind all this, is that it enables us to kind of put in a central location and kind of actually enables usage of spatial SQL, like spatial joins and permissions and scalability. So we started off with like, I think less than 5 people using it. And then we kind of grown to 20 users for a project. And as of now, we have 160 users using this MEDS project in two servers, 2 PostGIS databases. So we came a long way from, let's say, last year this point. I was not dealing with less than 50 people, and then now we have 160 people that I kind of deal with on a daily basis. So I just wanted to show you how things work in the how I just explained, basically. So when I'm placing a terminal, it's like an attribute field that I put in, and it will automatically show you some kind of labeling. And yeah, so you will get that terminal, this regular terminal. And then if you want a terminal that's in this case, I think I was trying to make a terminal that's let's see. Yeah, MPT, that, but like give it a length, and then it would give me the length, and it will change color and become a blue one, MPT. And then in this case, an MOB. I think. Oh, sorry, work plan. So basically, work plan label. So I can put an address, a pole name, and then I can give it a count. So we kind of made this text space. But we're in the process of making this much more error-free. So it would show manifest all this data depending on what you want to choose. So that was kind of like in the front, like you just said. So now I'm gonna kind of delve more into like the actual PostGIS SQL stuff, which I've really found to be interesting and fun. And using SQL to conduct analysis, we're using a lot of spatial joins. So funny enough, not funny, but like, of course, Paul, you had a video a couple of years ago about spatial joins, I think on PostGIS Day. And I was like thinking about all these tables that kind of are different and they're not like joined together. So I was just kind of thinking about how to use spatial joins in our purpose and for our purpose. And I started using SD intersects, SD distance, SD within, and it kind of gave me an inspiration to kind of go delve into further and kind of use it. So it started off with, simple things like, what's the perimeter, what's the area. But in our use cases, I got designers to count dwellings within a boundary and kind of some of the kind of units, number of units within a dwelling, things like that. And of course, some of them you can do by select by location, but the beauty of this using SQL was that you could actually manipulate the data and you could actually customize it. And basically you could see what's going on. So for doing a select by location in QGIS and just going click, 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 it took them like a fast designer would take about two minutes to do it. But like I realized that it takes like, I said 6 seconds using QGIS's DB manager, but it's much quicker using pgadmin or other tools if you talk directly to the database. But it was like, it's kind of, light my brains basically in terms of what I should do with all this data. So I went further into it and I wanted to know, I wanted to select all, in this case, wanted to select all the dwellings, but I wanted to actually select the ones that have many multiple inhabitants in it. So so I decided that the number would be 3, more than 3, and I wanted to count them as 1. So I gave him a condition and then kind of counted within a boundary and using a different layer as kind of a guidance. In this case, an admin boundary. So I was using that as a guide to kind of use as a boundary and then kind of try to count within. So for that job, I realized that for a designer, it would take more than 20 minutes to kind of do all that with QGIS and everything, all the processes, all the looking at the attributes. But with a simple query, it just was faster. So the more I looked into it, it made sense that I build more of this query. I wouldn't say scripts, but queries that they could use, and they could just change out the admin boundary name and the numbers, and they could just get the calculation really quickly. So one of the cool things that I recently helped a designer was they were looking for aerial couplings within each FSA for Dartmouth. This is Dartmouth. So they were actually looking at a different area, but I'm just using Dartmouth as an example, which is where Mobia is headquarters. So using where and all this cool SQL, but also spatial SQL, like within and things, and ST length, I was able to calculate the length and everything. And it was really quick. They really liked it, and they asked for more. So it was kind of interesting that the more I delved into it, they wanted more, the designers. So it was questionable how they would have went about this if they hadn't really looked into querying it using PostGIS, the capability of using spatial joins and spatial SQL. But it took them less than 10 seconds to actually get it. And also it kind of enabled myself to actually help designers to actually, in this case, they wanted a kind of a report using different columns of different sections and put it together and kind of make it into some kind of a CSV, Excel kind of copy file that they want. So I did that. So I kind of combined. So what they were looking for is they were looking for street name and street numbers from, in this case, a civics layer. And they were looking for, using the wiring limits as a boundary. So we had a boundary called wiring limits. And then we also was trying to join information within the wiring limits that were the terminals. So it was kind of using 3 layers, and it was just at the beginning I was like very hesitant, but like the more I did it and kind of wrangled with it, it was pretty cool that you could actually do that with SQL and using spatial SQL that's embedded in PostGIS. So it looks something like this, but it took me like 10 less, I don't know, with pgadmin it took me like, I don't know, 1 second, 2 seconds. It's so quick, and you can just have that Excel ready to be printed, or copy and paste it into another format they want. Yeah. So all this kind of usage of PostGIS and QGIS also kind of entailed that I would have some kind of a mechanism to train these people, these designers, because luckily I had a background in applied linguistics and education, and so I kind of made videos, internal videos, using the documentation that QGIS provided and some of the documentation I referred to PostGIS to kind of make some of those kind of step-by-step guides using those queries and whatnot. And in our case, we were using suite, so I kind of used them as kind of as much as possible, and kind of help designers learn QGIS or GIS basically, and some learn the functions. And initially they were very hesitant using these queries, but like the more they use it, they kind of realize it's very powerful. And then it's also very enriching in terms of trying to look at what other issues they can solve using the power of PostGIS. So at the moment, I'm using PostGIS to go to a map like that, a PDF format that looks like what you just saw. But I kind of envisioned that at some point we would kind of need like a web map, and that would kind of go into the world of geo servers and whatnot. But that's pretty far ahead. But also I also want to think more. I guess at Mobia we might kind of delve more into, let's say, the cloud area of things, where it also speaks the PostGIS language basically. So kind of for our clients who have cloud databases and whatnot, provide that service as well. And it worked, I believe it works well with QGIS as well. So I'll have to, that would be my future project in terms of playing around with the cloud and QGIS and PostGIS with things like Carto, which kind of supports PostGIS and enables you to kind of give you that web-based GIS tool. So from my experience overall, I have some few notes that I want to share. If there are telecommunication providers or we're thinking of using some kind of an open source way to kind of build a tool. So I started with 0. Basically, I was just really, I wasn't joking when I was talking about an Excel sheet. So there was no users at all, but it was quite amazing feat after a few years, 2 years, I think, implementation, if I think about it, to 160. And it can be possible. It's mostly open source, I would say. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. And also the customization is also amazing for QGIS. And I wouldn't say customization for PostGIS because at the moment, I'm not really customizing PostGIS or writing anything, but the option's there. So it's really amazing that I had the experience to actually kind of build a system, but like the more I use this, the minutes, I'm more at the back of things. So in the very beginning, I was more in the front end of things, making all this nice QGIS stuff and whatnot. But now I'm more and more in the back of things, database, and kind of thinking more of the architecture, structure, and like the types of columns and whatnot. So I started from, when I was 0, I was kind of started from geometry or geography kind of question to where I am now. And that's also, I just want to say thank you to Paul for creating PostGIS. And it was just a wonderful tool that it really helped me a lot. So it's a really enriching experience as a GIS professional because I'm solving problems via creation in a way. I'm not really creating the wheel, reinventing the wheel, but I'm actually kind of sitting on the shoulders of giants like yourself, like Paul, but also like Regina Ope, which her book PostGIS in Action is also very inspiring, and it really helped me a lot to kind of solve this, because at the moment, and I think it's also kind of says to other GIS professionals, a lot of times it's you yourself kind of doing everything and then kind of have to solve it using, I don't know, Googling techniques basically, and a lot of reading and whatnot, researching. But I say enriching, it can be kind of hair pulling, but like it was really a good experience, and I really am thankful for all the giants before me that kind of made this happen. And yeah, so that's it for my presentation. I hope that was kind of helpful to any professionals who are interested in QGIS and PostGIS.
Thanks, Justin. That was great, and it was wonderful to hear your journey from the beginning to the end. And it sounds like it's not even close to being over. I got one question here on the Q&A from Christian Frugard. Congrats on all your progress. Question: how do you handle authentication from QGIS to PostGIS for each user to handle distinct permissions?
So you mean, I mean, let me just rephrase that question a bit, I think. So you're asking about permissions on different users, right?
Yeah.
So we have like I would just use the, like, for the designers, I give them editing roles. We kind of call them editors, and they would have access to kind of write and delete some certain layers. And then we have the editor supreme, which is kind of like, like the major layers that we like, the base layers, we don't allow them to kind of erase and everything, but they can draw it. So we assign these roles, and then kind of using a SQL kind of a script, we kind of give them password and names, and give them access. So I'm just using out of the box PostGIS kind of tool, and it works fine. It's really great.
Makes sense. There's a whole role-based authentication system, just the right way, waiting there to be used.
Yeah, and the documentation is great. So it's to be fair.
I noticed that the outputs you're spitting out look very specific. Like these are engineering diagrams. These are made for people who expect particular symbology and so on. Was that like a major, like, initial, I don't know, design roadblock? It's like, yeah, you can use your funny software, but you got to make a map that looks exactly like this.
Well, yeah, of course, yes. I think as a GIS professional, you can have to tell a lot of no's. Like, there's not going to be like degrees out of the box, like like how CAD is. Like I've also had a bit of CAD experience at school, but like it's a whole different beast, and I had to kind of explain about layers and all that jazz, basically. But it's a process. But like once they get it and once they use it, they really like it because it's fast. I mean, the editing for QGIS, this is PostGIS, but like to QGIS, I mean, it's every layer has its own way of locking things. So it's also, once you get used to it, you get into a flow. So yeah.
Your symbology, is that specific to Telecom?
I believe so. Yeah.
Have you thought about like opening up your symbol set and making an open source Telecom symbology set that
I'm thinking about it. So maybe if I have more time on the side, maybe if it's kind of like can be open to the public, basically if it's a kind of a general rule, then I think just creating something that's for everyone to kind of use as symbology would be beneficial to everyone. I think that's something that I can definitely look into as something to contribute to the open source community.
Yeah, symbols are a lot of work.
Yes.
Thank you again, Justin, for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.